you so much for watching The Christian View, where we are talking about fluidity, gender fluidity, but we're going to talk about sexual fluidity. You know, Cameron, I can't even start to imagine how this affects marriages. I mean, you get married, you're a male, you're female, well, now it's whatever, but you marry a male, like traditional, like we were raised, Bible teaching, the way God designed it. And then all of a sudden, into your marriage, you decide that you want the other role.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. Sexual fluidity. We're dealing with the fact that, you know, when we talk about genders, that's one thing you understand the craziness of, you know, changing your gender. But even as a heterosexual, they're telling you, you know what, today you might, you know, have affection towards a woman, and 3 hours later, it might be a man, and 3 hours later, it could be whatever. Well, but see, think about it. We've been singing about this stuff forever, didn't think about it, but it just continues to progress that way. You know, it's your thing, do what you want to do. I can't tell you who to, right? All these kind of things that we've been saying, and it's been, we've thought of it as being no big deal, but that's what we're living now. That's what we're seeing.
They're coming up with things we never thought of.
No, we didn't think about it, but it opened the door.
Love the one you're with.
Love the one you're with. You know, so all those things are, yeah, that's why we were raised with.
We have to remind them, even when people try to use the Bible and take it out of context to justify their position, we have to remind them, I remind people, Matthew 19, verse 4, where it says that, and he answered and said to them, have you not read in the beginning, he made them male and female.
And maybe we haven't read.
You know, the whole image of all of us coming from Adam, and if God wanted all us to stay the same, he wouldn't have created a woman. And the whole thing of, if you look at it, you know, in science we teach, or repeat those in science, when you look, what the amazing thing is that a man has all of the parts that a woman also, the woman has those same things. So you can see how God took that plan, you know, men have breasts, you know, women have breasts, you know, the whole bodies of, he took the testosterone out of the testosterone, and men suppressed it and called it estrogen. And then, you know, basically when you look at the male anatomy, even the reproductive organs, for the male is basically the inverse in the female. And so you see how, how God worked the thing out. So there is a difference.
And even the way our brains are wired differently. A man's brain versus a woman's brain, and the way we think and communicate, we think so differently.
Has warped the brain? Something
I think it's that we don't stand for anything anymore. I used to tell my sons, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. And that is so, so true. And I think also that Pokemon and Harry Potter, so I had the privilege of sending my children to Christian private school. So in the early 2000s, they did not allow, they sent a letter home, and I found the letter, and it was saying, you know, we don't support, we won't have in our library, you know, Harry Potter books, because they have a death tone to them, they have homosexuality in them, and then the whole Pokemon was just, because, well, the reason I thought about it is all the trans fluids have these tattoos of these characters. And I thought, what is the connection here? And then sure enough, when I researched it, that Pokemon, it's an occult, it supports evolution, witchcraft, so this came in right as the millennials were young, because I have millennials, were young boys and girls, and it just took over.
Trudy, teenagers are confused enough without the confusion of this, and especially the worldview and these gay activists and these transgendered activists going into the schools of our young children, even confusing them further.
I say, like, how dare the school system allow that?
How do they allow that?
I just think it's wrong.
There was a study done in Europe, and almost half of those that were polled, 18 to 24-year-olds almost half of the 18 to 24-year-olds don't consider themselves straight. 43% of 18 to 24-year-olds identify themselves as sexually fluid. And that just shows how far we've gotten from, Cam, you mentioned Romans 1, 26 through 28. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural. In the same, men abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another.
And see, what happens is that the reality is that these young people had no clue until it was introduced to them. And we have to understand that that's where they're getting it from. And they don't know. They come in a clean slate, and they're coming into a society that is just totally, that's totally against them and who they are. And so we have to come in as a church and once again be the educators of our own children.
Well, I also think we need to let them know what a true godly marriage is, because I think so many even godly marriages have fallen. I was running with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she said, well, it's just, she just admitted that her husband had had 5 affairs. And I'm like, really? What are you going to do about it? She said, nothing, I'm just going to let him. But we have to let them know what a godly marriage is. And like you said, we have to stand for something. And the generations behind us don't really understand what is a Christ-centered marriage anymore. And so they're searching for everything they can to fill that void.
Well, I think we have to deal with the fact that because the church, because Christ is the answer, it goes back to godly doctrine and rightly divided word. And sometimes what you find is that those that are in fivefold ministry, because the people are coming in from the world and giving them pushback, they are now cowering and not saying what needs to be said. And so we have to get back to a strongly taught word about a holy God.
There's a man that I read his story. He was in homosexuality. He now has a ministry to homosexuals. One of the things that he shared intimate details about in his blog, it just blew my mind, were the physical effects of a homosexual lifestyle, the surgeries he had to go through, the pain, how it just absolutely, it just destroyed his body. And those are things we never talk about.
You don't hear that part.
Because I was a nurse in inner city in the surgery department, and that's what I saw. I was like, it doesn't matter what society says about it. I see the physical consequences of this lifestyle.
You don't hear about that
and
part,
like you
Trudy.
were saying, there's an anatomical aspect to it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It goes against God. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If it goes against God, it's not going to work.